Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. Here's another Monday quarterback video for you. This comes from Los Angeles, California in the Hollywood division. This is from 2018. It's a little old. It did make the news. It didn't go, I would say, viral, but it did make the news. And it's basically a case where the police respond to a person who, over a series of days, has one, sexually assaulted a person, two, assaulted a security guard at this 24-hour fitness facility, and has come back and is trespassing and is taking a shower in an area of the facility that has supposed to be closed down because they got caution tape and stuff like that up. Police get there. He disobeys all their instructions and commands. They go to arrest him and take him out. He starts fighting and resisting, and he gets one of the officers down and starts beating the female officer in the face, causing the other officer to have to shoot to stop him. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play the entirety of this video without any interruptions, and then I will go back, hit replay, and I will talk about the things I think that were done right, and I'll talk about the things I think were done wrong. Without further ado, here we go. Also, I will skip forward some at the beginning of this video because a lot of this video is just a public relations release from LAPD. So when it goes to talk about the body cameras and the taser, I'm going to fast forward through that. But here we go.
I'm Captain Patricia Sandoval of Media Relations Division of the Los Angeles Police Department. I'm going to give you a brief overview of an incident that began on October 29th, 2018 at around 9:15 a.m. Officers from Hollywood Division responded to a radio call of a battery suspect at the 24-hour fitness at 6380 West Sunset Boulevard. When the officers arrived, they met with the manager and were advised that a suspect, later identified as Albert Ramon Dorsey, had battered one of their security officers on October 28, 2018, and was now trespassing in the men's shower area, which was closed off for repairs. We were able to recover CCTV footage from Dorsey's confrontation with the security guard on the 28th. This is the body-worn video from when the officers first entered the business. Body-worn cameras are assigned to nearly every officer working field duties. They are worn at chest level and provide a perspective from that angle.
Hello. gentleman who's a little bit irate and he's not listening. He's already threatened a few members and he's also assaulted security as well.
Where's he at?
Here now is video from our officers' contact with Dorsey. A staff member guided the officers into a closed-off shower area to speak to the suspect. The officers located Dorsey and explained to him that they were going to escort him from the property. When Dorsey refused to comply with the officer's directions, the officer attempted to arrest him for trespassing. A scuffle ensued and both of the officers' body-worn cameras fell to the ground. During this altercation, both officers attempted to use their tasers, which had no effect on Dorsey. It is also important to note that Dorsey's size of more than 6 feet, 280 pounds, was exceptionally larger than both officers, who were just over 5 feet tall.
So that should be good.
Hey, sir. What's going on? Okay, can you put on your clothes?
We want you out. You gotta get out. No. I think the last time was called already.
Sir.
Turn off your music, put on your clothes and get out. Let's go. You gotta go. Huh?
What's the problem?
They don't
The
want
problem
you in here.
is you're causing a disturbance.
I have a business meeting.
Okay, I don't care, but you gotta put on your clothes right now. You gotta listen to us.
So can I get some privacy, please?
No, I have to watch you.
You gotta watch me.
Yes, I have to watch you get dressed. I don't care what it is. We're not here just because we want to be here. They called on you. So you need to hurry up because I'm losing my patience right now, sir.
What they tell you out there? What they say?
I don't know, but I want you to put on your clothes.
What they tell you? What they say?
He just told you.
No, you didn't. Like, I don't even know this shit.
We'll tell you outside. We need you to get out.
What are you doing?
I'm about to get my fucking drawer. What the fuck you think I'm about to do?
All right.
Go ahead, put on your clothes.
You gonna get dressed? Or we're gonna have to drag you out of here like this?
Just hurry up and put on your clothes. That's all you gotta do.
What is wrong with you? Are you gonna put on your clothes or not?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
come on.
well then,
Well, stop
why are you
walking
looking at
around.
yourself in the mirror?
Bro,
body.
Alright, now let me tell you one simple thing. Stop talking to me.
Oh, it's like that, huh? Hurry up.
Hurry up, stop dancing, hurry up.
That bitch.
Hands behind your back. Stop tensing up. Stop tensing up. Do not tense up on me. Do not fucking
I
tense up
swear
on
to
me.
God, if you fucking tense up, buddy.
Do not tense up on me.
Hold that. What are you gonna do?
Do not fucking tense up on me.
Grab your car. Can you grab it?
I can't. Put the bag the other way.
Hey, bro, what the fuck is going on, bro?
Calm down. Calm down. Hold on.
Hey, you got this. Oh, it's recorded. I'm not going to that.
Give me your fucking hand then.
You got it?
Yeah, got it.
Hold on. What is this thing? Just relax. You're all right.
Stop.
Relax.
Stop.
Get over it. Now.
Relax.
Get over it. Look. Get over here. All right.
Stop trying to up my way. Turn around. I want to see you again. Turn around. Turn around. Turn around. Turn around. See your head.
While you can only hear the fight in the background, according to officers' statements, Dorsey and one of the officers ended up on the ground with Dorsey straddling over her, repeatedly punching the officer in her face with his fist. The partner of that officer shot Dorsey to stop this attack. Dorsey was pronounced dead at the scene by Los Angeles Fire Department paramedics. Both officers received injuries during the initial altercation. Albert Ramon Dorsey was a 30-year-old resident of Maryland and recently arrived to the Los Angeles area and was recently arrested for trespassing at the Coliseum in Los Angeles.
In the next several months, the LAPD will continue to investigate.
All right. So, if you've ever had to fight a naked person before, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. All right. I'll drop the volume down just a little bit. And we'll go back into the video and we'll start at the beginning area.
Can you put on your coats? I want you out. You gotta get out. No.
All right. So, right from the get-go, this dude's attitude sucks ass. He's highly disrespectful. He's non-compliant. And there's a reason for this, and this is my belief that this guy's been involved in the criminal justice system more than once. He does not live a respectable life, in my opinion. He's not what you would call a good person. Now, some people in his circle may say that, oh, he's a good guy. He'll give you the shirt off his back. You know what? I think everyone says that about people they know. And even people like Ted Bundy, the serial killer, had friends. And people liked him and thought he was funny and charismatic. But he was still a freaking serial killer. Street criminals, same thing. They can be pieces of shit. But they got friends in their circle, and their friends like them, and they think they're funny and think they're kind of okay people. And some of these criminals, they can be charismatic. Case in point, just like Ted Bundy. I mean, if you read about him, he was a likable person. Except for the fact that he killed women. This guy, you can tell, and I've been doing this long enough, dealing with people like this, I can tell that he has been involved in the criminal justice system more than once. So when it talks about the dates in there from the 27th to the 29th, this is not his first rodeo with police. I would suspect that he's been involved with police since an early age. And his problems started from an early age. I would speculate that this guy, at a young age, was probably doing things he was not supposed to be doing. And the schools are a part of the problem in society. So schools will not use corporal punishment anymore. They won't spank a kid for doing stupid stuff. And I think that has a big hand in going towards why people act like this. The schools won't do anything to the kids physically. And I do believe that pain is a good teacher. It is a good motivator for you not to do stupid stuff again. I remember as a kid doing something really stupid and saying some cross stuff to my mom, and my mom slapped the shit out of me. She slapped me so damn hard her ring came flying off. I guarantee you I never said that shit to my mom again. I quote unquote fucked around and found out. At an early age, these kids, they do these things and they never learn their lessons in school. And when you think about kids in school, at least during the school months, they spend about as much time at school as you and I spend at work. They spend more time at school than they do home, just like we spend more time at work than we do home. So when they're in that environment where they're doing almost whatever they want, and there's hardly any consequences, no real true consequences, that starts to build their character. And it's also who they hang out with. A lot of these kids, they don't have fathers in their lives. If they do have a biological father in their life, that person is not a fatherly figure. They are not leading by example and raising them correctly. They just happen to be the biological dad, and they might be in the picture for a little bit. What happens with a lot of these criminals is they're raised by their mom or their grandma or their grandparents. They get to a certain age and a certain size where mom and grandma or grandpa, their no stops losing its effect because they can no longer physically back up no. So then, once that starts to happen, they start to kind of doing what they want to do. And if their mom is in the picture, even the grandparents are in the picture, they're most likely going to be working. And so while they're working, who's watching the little kid? And in more urban environments, more impoverished urban environments, they're hanging around other similar kids in similar social economic situations where their parents aren't around, and they start hanging out with each other, and they don't have any guidance. They have each other to guide, and then they have some older people in the neighborhood who they kind of look up to, who they should not be looking up to because those older people are little shitheads. And so that starts to build upon their character as well. Then when they start as juveniles being able to be involved in the juvenile system, uh, they get treated differently than adults. The juvenile system in every state is pretty relaxed. It's kind of a joke, really, in most cases. So the police, when they deal with juveniles, they a lot of times don't like dealing with juveniles because in a lot of cases they have their hands tied behind their back. They don't end up being able to do a whole lot with them. They can charge them all day long, but the courts will do a lot of pretrial diversion and least restrictive options and things like that. So you could have a police officer catch a juvenile in the act of a burglary, detain them, and for example, in the state of Kentucky, they have to call what's called the CDW, the court designated worker. And the court designated worker works under the Department of um, Public Advocacy. They'll talk to the CDW, and the CDW will make the decision on what to do with them. Either they'll tell the police, okay, cite them and take them to detention, or they'll tell them cite them and release them to their parents. And more often than not, these juveniles get cited and released to their parents, so they never see the inside walls of a detention center on their first go around. Some other places, they may be released to a kind of like a community center. In Louisville, a lot of the juveniles that are picked up or ended up being released to, and I never forgot the name of it now, but it's basically like a community center kind of thing, and they'll just release them there, and once they leave, they just walk out the door and go right back to doing what they was doing. Other states are like this, and that is a major part of the problem because as juveniles, they never learn their lessons. They don't ever get true consequences for their actions, and so they may a lot of times be cited and released to parents. If they do go into a detention center, I mean they're like daycare centers really. The people inside in most places, they don't carry tasers or pepper spray like adult jails do. They have things like PlayStations and board games and movies and stuff like that for the juveniles to watch. Basically, keep them pacified while they're in there. And some states do trauma-informed care, treatment kind of stuff. They'll have quote unquote counselors on site to talk to them. and they're really just glorified caseworkers, really. There's not really any true counseling, true psychological stuff going on in these places. They're just another form of a juvenile guard, in a sense, that just deals with them. And they don't spend a whole lot of time there. Like I said, a lot of times they'll be pretrial diverted, and they'll get out and they'll be told, hey, you do good for a year, this will come off, blah, blah, blah. If they don't, then, they could be given something like 30 days in detention or a week in detention, something like that. And then they'll do that multiple times. And some states have what they call camps. They're development centers or boys camps, and this will be another alternative for them to go to. It's more of a longer term kind of placement for them. Instead of it being like 20 days, 30 days, they could spend about 4 to 8 months, sometimes a year or more, in a place like this. And those places between the detention centers and these camps and things like that, they're just like adult world jails and prisons. They will hire just damn near anyone that has a pulse. There's a huge turnover rate in the corrections industry, and adult prisons and jails and juvenile prisons and, or not prisons, but jails and quote unquote camps, they will hire damn near everyone. And the quality of the people is very low. They'll get people in there who don't do their job correctly, don't hold them accountable, and make them do the things they're supposed to do. They turn a blind eye and they take the easiest way out instead of holding them accountable, dealing with a temper tantrum, and so forth. Some of them even bring them chips and candy and stuff like that, just to pacify them so they can have an easier day and not have a whole lot of headache. The adult world, a little similar, maybe not so much of them bringing in Coke and candy for the inmates, but you still have a lot of the same type of people being hired into these facilities, people who do not need to be working in these type of facilities, and they will turn a blind eye. They won't address the issue, either because they don't want to, they're incredibly lazy, or they're just scared and they don't want to do anything at all. So people like this with a crappy upbringing, they don't have any morals or anything instilled in them. They're doing their thing. They go into the juvenile system. They get out. They go into the adult system. They never learn accountability, and they never learn. They never experience any consequences or good repercussions. Yeah, sure, they get a timeout in a sense. They got to go to jail for 30 days. But once they're in that jail or in that prison, things don't suck. Things aren't as bad as what people make them out to be. For example, pedophiles. Everyone talks about when pedophiles go in jail, the other inmates are going to take care of them and rape them and do all this other stuff. The majority of the time, that never happens. 99% of the time, that never goes on. Those pedophiles get what's called protective custody. Then they go into a cell with other pedophiles, and they never get around normal people who would stomp a mud hole in their ass. And so people have this misconception that jails and prisons are bad. They're really tough, and the reality is they're not. They're kind of like they're daycares in a way. County jails can be a little more strict and harder than a prison, and you will actually find some inmates who are in a jail waiting to go to a prison talking about how they cannot wait to go to a prison because it's going to be so much nicer than dealing with that county jail. But for the most part, like I said, these jails and prisons, they're not that bad. All they got to do is do their time and deal with some smelly farts, probably, some of the same boring old stories, and just having to follow a routine that they don't necessarily want to follow, but it's not that bad. Um, you know, they wake up in the morning, they're given breakfast. Most of them they just hang out when there's nothing being structured done for them. They hang out, they do their own thing. Lunch is brought to them. hang out, watch TV, play cards, talk, bullshit, write down some rap lyrics. Some of them do. And then they get their dinner. And some of these people, they sleep during the day. So daytime guys got it easy in the most part. They ain't got to deal with a whole lot of them. And then come afternoon, night, a lot of them are awake, playing cards, dominoes, watching TV, etc. And aside from the meals, every once in a while, every day at some point, they'll bring out cleaning supplies, and someone's responsible for cleaning the cell or cleaning the rooms or whatever. And each facility is different. That may be a thing where everyone gets involved, that everyone has to clean their own individual room. Some of them will take that responsibility and actually clean their own room. Others won't give a shit. The common area, sometimes some places the inmates will get together and decide, hey, you guys, and they segregate themselves too, by the way. A lot of times you'll see the black guys hang out with each other and the white guys hang out with each other. It's not like the officials within the jail make them do that. They just do it on their own. So you'll have the white guys and the black guys talking. All right, you guys clean this day, and we can listen to the country music channel. And you guys clean this day, you can listen to BET. So they'll trade off on chores like that and whatnot. And it's other than that, it's not that bad. You can't, because of the Constitution, you can't have any cruel and unusual punishment. You can't just go in there and start beating the shit out of people. They have rights. You can't do that to them. So they get to sit in relative comfort in these cells within jails and prisons. And all they got to do is just suck up the fact that they got to be in there for X amount of time. If they got 2 years of doing prison, all right, well, they're doing 2 years of being behind these walls and not being able to go out and do truly what they want to do. But while they're in there, it's not that bad. Food is brought to them. They don't have to do any work if they don't want to. They get free TV. The prison will provide them free playing cards, chess pieces, checkers, stuff like that. And then their family can put money on their books, and they can buy chips, candy bars, Coke, have phone calls. Some places are giving them tablets now, so they can send emails and videos and pictures and all kinds of shit. So there's no consequences when it comes to jails and prisons. And then with the people who work in those places, like I said, a lot of them will turn a blind eye. They won't hold them accountable for stuff. So they just kind of do what they want to do. And in some places, the prison cell or the jail cell is just, in a way, a satellite of the streets in a sense. If that makes any sense, like a jail cell or a pod in some places, what they call, it's just an extension of the streets, just a little bit more controlled in a way. But they have kind of say what goes on within that cell, because the jails and prisons are understaffed. No staff stay inside these cells with them and make sure they're not talking about stuff they're not supposed to be talking about or doing stuff. A lot of times they only come around once an hour on what they call a tour, a watch tour, or checks, like interior checks or whatever. They only come around every so often and look, make sure they're still alive. In between those times, they're doing whatever the hell they want to do, pretty much. And contraband comes in these places. They can get drugs. They can make their own alcohol. Some of the staff will bring them drugs, bring them cigarettes, things like that. So all in all, prison and jail's not that terribly bad for these folks. So you got, like I said, the childhood upbringing, the criminal justice system when it comes to corrections, just fucking hiring anybody with a pulse and putting them in there, and the courts release these people too soon and too often. They give them too many chances, too many little slaps on the wrist. It's asinine when you look at some people's criminal histories and you can see through the series of mugshots over the years, you can watch them during their aging process. You can see them from 18 years old going on into their 30s and 40s. You get to watch them age. And you look at their charges, and they've been in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Multiple charges. And they're still out. Why aren't people like that in a prison cell somewhere, just locked away, never coming back into society? So the courts will release them too soon and too often. You'll have the prosecutors make deals just to clear the books and everything, so they can say they have a higher conviction rate, and they have less stuff to do. They just try to push through it and get things done. And so you'll have people who get charged with murder, but it's just because the DA or Commonwealth Attorney, whatever the prosecution's term is in whatever jurisdiction you are in, they'll come up with deals and be like, all right, well, you plead guilty, we'll drop the murder charge and make it manslaughter or reckless homicide, something stupid. And when they could have done 30 plus years, now they get some sweet deal. Now they only get sentenced to 2 years, but just because they sentenced to 2 years doesn't mean they actually do the whole 2 years. They can get parole in 1 year. So the whole system is completely jacked. And then you got the police on the street. So in a lot of places, the police do a pretty good job. There's some lazy cops out there who just do not want to do their jobs. I call them now Instagram cops. They just want to take selfies and talk about how they fight the evil that you pretend it doesn't exist, but they actually don't go out and fight evil because they're too fucking scared to go do it, or they're too lazy to go do it. So overall, a lot of the police in a lot of places do a really good job, but you still have some of those officers who they don't need to be working in that job either. They're non-viable. They're police ineffective, so to speak. And you'll have officers like that come across people like this and turn a blind eye and kind of let them get away with stuff and let it go on for too long. And all this stuff just builds up, and it creates people who act just like this. People who have complete disregard for anyone in an authority position and just act like a complete fucking dick. And when you get someone of this size, who is over 6 foot tall, who's well over 200 pounds, approaching 300-pound mark, good sized guy. And then you have the little Smurfs come in, who this officer here on the right, he's like 5'1" and 140 pounds. His female partner is bigger than him. She's taller and she weighs more than him. So when you have someone of this size looking down on an officer this size, and this guy of this size has been around the block a couple times and knows he can push this dude around and he's not going to be able to control him, yeah, this motherfucker's going to have a real big ego, real big chip on his shoulder, and he's going to be a complete dick because he knows he's going to win that fight. And because he's just never been taught a lesson in his life. He's never been put in his place, and that's very evident the way he's been acting. And it's pretty common for to see this kind of behavior. So he's used to always, to some extent, being in charge of things. So people of authority right now are talking to him, and he's choosing to mostly ignore him and play on his phone and just kind of bob his head and dance there a little bit.
Put on your clothes and get out. Let's go. You gotta go. Huh?
What's the problem?
They don't
The
want
problem
you in here.
is you're causing a disturbance. Okay, I don't care, but you gotta put on your clothes right now. Yes, I have to watch you get dressed.
So the officers they're not playing in to his bullshit a whole lot. They're not coddling him or whatever. They're putting little roadblocks up at every little thing he has to say, because he's just wanting to prolong this. He's wanting to take charge of the scene and do what he wants to do. And they are putting roadblocks up. They're not. Here in a little bit, he'll ask, what's the problem? What's wrong? What'd they say? and he shuts him down and doesn't tell him. And then he tries to go to the female officer and ask her what's going on and who said what, and she shuts him down too. So they do pretty good on that aspect, not giving in a whole lot to him, but on that same token, they do give in to him a little bit by allowing him to continue acting like this and not doing anything about it. It'll get to the point where, and we'll fast forward some, they're not addressing the issue of him, not getting ready in a timely manner or whatever. Um,
We're not here just because we want to be here. They called on
and
you.
this is the part I was
So you
talking
need to
about. He's
hurry
trying to
up
figure
because I'm
out
losing
what
my
the people
patience
said
right now,
about him.
sir.
He won't get an answer from the male, so then he tries to
I don't know, but I want you to put on your
get an
clothes.
answer from the female. And that is a pretty common thing um, in this line of work. I call it sergeant shopping, because you will go to one person, get an answer, and if you don't like that answer, you'll go to someone else. And this kind of behavior is more prominent in a correctional setting. So in a jail or a prison, if you don't get the answer that he likes from one CO or guard or deputy, whatever terminology in the facilities are used, if he doesn't get the answer he likes from one person, he's going to go to the next until he gets the answer he likes. And it's just manipulation at this point, and that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to manipulate the situation to his favor just to keep control of it.
We'll tell you outside. We need you to get out.
So he's taking his time, and again, this is another act just for him to assert his dominance in this whole
All
matter.
right.
Now the male officer is making some huffy puffy noises
Go
and
ahead, put on your clothes.
saying, "All right." Now, mind you, there's two little security guards off to the side. This guy's got kind of a smirk on his face. He's kind of enjoying it so far. And the other guy, he just looks annoyed about being there. Um, the male officer, he comes along, and now he's taking out his gloves, and he's making a very overt visual show of this, putting his gloves on. And I kind of think that this is a form of posturing, so to speak. He's making this overt action to show, hey, I'm about to go hands on. I'm about to get physical. Sort of like how a dog barks, like, woof, 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 woof. I'm about to bark. When really he doesn't fully want to, because if he fully wanted to, he just would have snatched his ass up at the very beginning when he just wouldn't fucking listen before he started doing this walking around stuff. So, you got old dude right here walking around trying to assert his dominance, and then little Smurf dude here trying to posture and make this overt show of putting his gloves on.
Are you gonna get dressed, or we're gonna have to drag you out of here like this?
Just hurry up and put on your clothes. That's all you gotta do.
What is wrong with you? Are you gonna put on your clothes or not?
Okay,
Okay,
come on.
well then,
We'll
why
stop
are you
walking
looking at
around.
yourself in the mirror and walking back? I asked you one simple thing. Take your clothes, put it on your body.
Alright, now let me tell you one simple thing. Stop talking to me.
That, I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's some like pop culture thing that I missed the memo on, but this stop talking to me thing is a pretty common response with these kind of people. And it's just a huge form of disrespect when you tell someone to stop talking. But it's funny that that's such a widespread thing for them to say, stop talking to me. Um, in the history of these people, and this ain't the first time he said that. I can guarantee you that. Of all the times he's that him or other people have ever said this, when have people ever really stopped talking to him? It's just him again trying to assert his dominance, um, and just continuing to be an asshole.
Oh, it's like that, huh?
So the officer responds with what he responded with, but he still doesn't do anything. This guy's not yet fully committed to wanting to do anything. He's having some hesitation. He should have already initiated the process to put this dude in cuffs and get him out of there. So now this guy takes his time to clear a little corner off on the seat there. I can only imagine that he was doing that in preparation to sit down and like maybe put his socks on or something. I don't know, but he moves it and then he starts his little dancing.
Hurry up, stop dancing, hurry up.
And he wants to flip him the finger. And now he's doing his little menacing stare at them. He, at this point, I would say he knows things are about to get physical. And he is taunting them and he's menacing them with the way he's acting right now. And he has probably done this before in some type of correctional facility and got away with it. The people there dealing with him never did anything about it, and he got the desired effect, and they just completely left him alone. And this could be what he's trying to do. He's trying to get them to completely leave him alone, or he's trying to further intimidate them so that they don't go hands-on with him. So now he decides to cuff him up.
Stop tensing up. Stop tensing up. Do not
And automatically he starts tensing.
Do not fucking tense up.
Swear to God, if you fucking tense up, buddy.
Do not.
And the little guy says, I swear to God, if you tense up, buddy. Well, obviously the dude is already tensing up. So these verbal threats at this point are meaningless. The posturing is done with. It's time to fight. And they will struggle with him for quite some time. And in this instance, him struggling, so what could they have done besides just standing there struggling with him, trying to pull his arms behind his back? They could have done a leg sweep, take him down hard to the ground, and start fighting with him there. Could go ahead and pull Taser out and deploy Taser on him, and go from there. I'll talk about Taser here in a second.
Do not fucking tense up on me. I can't. Go back the other way.
So he takes the cuffs out of her belt, and he's already got one of his cuffs on him. He takes her cuffs out, and then he's going to try to link them together to be able to get these behind his back, and it just ends up being one big clusterfuck. And like I said, at this point, instead of him being in a standing position, they could have done a leg sweep. Go ahead and take him down to that ground, and proceed from there. Or go ahead and Taser or deploy Taser on him from this position. Now, both cameras fall off the body. And this is where I absolutely hate those magnetic mounts for the cameras. These magnetic mounts are freaking useless. Any scuffle that you get into, they fall off. I cannot tell you how many times I've watched videos of cameras falling off of people, and it ends up in these two views. Either A, looking up at the ceiling or sky, or B, face down at the ground, and it's just a black screen and nothing but audio. Those magnetic mounts, as I said, are useless. I do not recommend them at all. What I would recommend doing is having your uniform shirt altered in such a way that you could use the body camera case with a clip on the back, and you can slide the clip down into a little eyelet so that it would stay on the shirt better. Those magnetic mounts, the only reason agencies, in my opinion, the only reason why agencies use those things is A, they're provided to them when they buy the things, or they can come with them. and they don't have to spend the money to go have everyone's uniform shirt altered in such a way that they don't have to use the things. It's to administrators, it is a turnkey solution, out the box thing that they can start using, and they don't have to do any modifications to uniforms. And they can still kind of maintain that nice, classic, sort of almost Class A-ish uniformed look. And the reality of the matter, the magnetic mounts suck ass. Take your uniform shirts, take them, have them tailored, have a special little eyelet or a little tab sewn onto the uniform where the body camera can be clipped to it and stay there. Otherwise, they're just going to end up like this. And body cameras are a good thing to have. They can back you up really good and show what's going on a whole lot better, and it's more to your favor. I know when they first came out, people were really hesitant about them, weren't sure about them, but then, hey, you know what? They started proving that assholes are assholes and the criminals lie all the damn time. And when the criminals say that, you did this, you did that, body camera shows otherwise, it saved a lot of people from bullshit complaints and backed them up in court. So you want your body camera to stay on you. So if you have a magnetic mount, get rid of the damn thing. Have your uniform shirts modified to be able to accept the clip so they can clip into your shirt and stay on better. Now, they continue to struggle with them, and they kick the camera around, and then eventually they disappear off screen. They still struggle with them, and they end up deploying Taser on him a couple times. And the Taser is ineffective. Now, why is the Taser ineffective? I have a couple of beliefs on why the Taser was ineffective. I don't know 100% sure why. Of course, I have not seen any autopsy photos from this, haven't read any other reports. All I've watched or know about this is from this press release. So, he's naked, that's obvious. And you would think that with a naked person, the Taser should effectively work. There's no clothing there for the probes to get entangled in and have a clothing disconnect. But what people fail to realize is when both probes are fired at close proximity to a target, there's no spread with the probes. So the distance between each probe at a close distance is the same distance from the top of the gun itself to the bottom of the gun itself. So you could take the cartridge off the Taser gun and just cycle the Taser gun, and it's essentially a stun gun at that point, just like you can buy at a flea market or buy online somewhere. It's just a basic stun gun when you take that cartridge all the way off. When you put that cartridge on and you fire at close proximity, those probes don't have a chance to spread out, and they are the same distance as you would have the two prongs on the end of the gun with the cartridge off. So when those two probes are fired in close proximity like that, it's the same as just hitting them with the gun itself with no cartridge. You're just causing pain at this point. And as it's been proven, people can fight through pain. Where the Taser cartridges really shine, so to speak, is when you get spread on them. And when the probes are spread out across the body, you can achieve NMI, neuromuscular incapacitation. So I think that there's two options. A, they fired the tasers too close and the probes didn't get enough spread. Or B, they fired and only one probe hit and the other probe went somewhere else. And all this guy was feeling was some pain. There's a simple, effective way to remedy that problem, and that is to do a follow-up drive stun. You'll take the Taser gun itself, and you'll just take it and you'll ram it into a different part of the body, tilt downwards just a little bit to make sure that bottom or top metal prong can make good contact with the skin, and you'll complete the circuit. So if you held a taser gun 4 inches away from someone's back and you fired it and the probes basically embed into the person side by side, you're just basically might as well taking the stun gun portion of it and driving into them. What you could do at that point is if you fire it close into their back like that, just take the gun itself and just ram it into their lower back or their buttocks area or their leg. And now you'll have both those probes delivering current and the gun itself delivering current into the body from where you press it into. And the gun itself, when you press it into the body, acts as a probe in a sense, and you get spread at that point. Now you have the electrical current going through a larger spread of the body, affecting more muscles and nerves, thus achieving NMI. So I think those are the two possibilities that occurred and why the taser was ineffective. Now, like I said, it's a very simple thing just to do a follow-up drive stun and complete the circuit. So that kind of goes into, well, why didn't they do that? And I would say there's a training issue there. Now, with a training issue, it would either be they had a crappy instructor, which is possible, because a lot of agencies will just take an office person because it's a whole lot easier to schedule an office person to go do a class than take someone off patrol, have them teach a class, and they be out of patrol and then have to find someone else to go cover their position. And I don't care what organization you're a part of, office people are not always the greatest and brightest. So there's that. One possibility is the instructor sucked, or two, the possibility is them as students. They sucked, and they just somehow managed to pass the class, didn't get noticed because there's so many other people in the class, and they just kind of fell through the cracks, so to speak. Overall, another major contributing problem to a lack of good taser training is because of Taser themselves, or Axon is the name of the company now. They price their cartridges too damn high, and that is a problem in my opinion because you need to be able to fire multiple cartridges in a training class to be pretty proficient with the taser and become better trained with it. At bare minimum, what a lot of agencies do is they only fire 2 cartridges. They'll have the student fire 1 cartridge at the target, do a reload, and then fire the other. And then, of course, after they set through a PowerPoint, they're now certified to use taser. That's wrong. But they do that because those cartridges are freaking expensive. So firing 2 cartridges can be almost $100. And when you have a 100-man department, 200, 500-man department, whatever, that adds up real quick, like real quick. And some agencies are poor, and they cannot afford to buy a whole lot of cartridges just to shoot through them during training scenarios. So that is a contributing problem all across the board, in my opinion, is Axon pricing their cartridges too damn high. Now, moving on from there, so they shot the guy, or he shot the guy because the guy had got into a position where he was on top of the female and was punching her repeatedly in the face. And then the guy decided to pull his gun and shoot the guy. Now, this case made the news back in 2018. I don't think it went very viral like some other things have gone, but it did make the news, and a lot of people were fussing about this because, I mean, at face value, so to speak, all you hear about is a naked man, unarmed, being shot. And with just that information, that can make a person scratch their head and be like, well, what the hell? Really, what people have probably failed to realize, and even with the video coming out, I would say those people probably still refused to watch the video and still came up with their bullcrap stories and accusations. Fact of the matter is, these two officers were super small. The male officer was only 5'1" and 140 pounds. His partner, the girl, was taller than him and weighed more than him. The suspect was over 6 foot tall and almost 300 pounds. He's a big dude. And me, as a big dude, I can tell you that us big guys, we can cause some damage. We can make it real hard for average sized people to control us. And when you're below average size, yeah, it's going to make it extremely more difficult uh, to control someone. So there was already a size disparity here. Two very small officers against one big guy, and they could not physically control him um, with their hands or with a taser. And when this guy got into a position to be on top of this girl and just start pummeling her face, what's that male officer to do? Continue trying to grapple with this guy and gain control over him and not be able to? Or and allow him to continue punching this woman in the face and potentially cause her to go unconscious, and now she's out of the fight, and now it's just going to be him and the suspect fighting, and he could potentially um, whoop his ass because he's way smaller than the girl. And then what's he going to do when those officers are unconscious? Is he going to leave it at that and be like, huh, I beat their ass, I won, and then get dressed and leave? Or would he continue on and beat them to death? Or take their guns out of their holsters and then shoot and kill them? Or go to his bag and if he had a knife, start slitting their throats? You have no idea what this guy's going to do. The fact that this guy doesn't want to follow any instructions and starts fighting the police, that's evident enough that this guy has no disregard for their lives. And the fact that he got on top of a woman and started beating her in the face, he has no regard for life. He has no regard for authority. You just cannot assume that this guy who has just done all these bad things is going to be an honest fellow and just walk away after he knocks your ass out. You cannot assume that. You have to assume the worst. And that's what this guy did. What this officer did. He assumed the worst. He assumed that if she went unconscious and then he turned on him and he went unconscious, well, this dude's going to kill him. You have to assume that. And that's any reasonable person, in my opinion, would think that that's a possibility after witnessing all this that's gone on. So it is justified for him to use deadly physical force against a naked person who doesn't have a gun or a knife. You have to take the totality of the circumstances into play before you say, "Oh, they're a murderous cops. They just kill people for no reason." These people who say this shit are stupid. They're uneducated, and B, a lot of them who say that shit are criminals, and they just hate the police anyway because the police are the ones who lock them up and get them in trouble. Now, the other issue that I've had with this video is there's two security guards standing by in the beginning, and you'll see there's two of them hanging around, but you'll see one of them a little bit more prominent, and it's a guy just standing there kind of near the front, and there's the two. So this is the one you see mostly just kind of standing there, kind of grinning, and then this other guy right there. Uh, it doesn't say in the report if these two guys tried to help out or not, but based off what's talked about in the video and the noises and everything, it doesn't appear as though these two dudes helped out in any way. And it looks like these guys are probably a little bit bigger than the police officers, and they got some weight to them. They could have stepped in and helped subdue this guy and get him in cuffs. But obviously, from when the body cameras were on, the bodies, you don't see them involved in any way. And again, I can't tell for sure if they did or did not get involved after the cameras fell to the ground, but based off what I've seen and heard, it doesn't seem like they helped at all, and that's wrong on their part. Um, these two guys, if they did not help out at all, then fuck them. They need to get out of that profession and go work somewhere else. But unfortunately, that's what the security industry is like. You get a bunch of fuck offs like that who don't need to be working in that profession. And like I said, if these two dudes, if they never helped one bit, didn't lift one finger to do anything, fuck them. I hope bad things happen to them in life because they were a contributing factor to this happening as well. They didn't do a damn thing about it or helped in any way whatsoever. So I think I've talked about everything I want to talk about in this video. We'll go to the end page here. So talked about why these behaviors occur. It's a multitude of things, and it's not like this dude just started being an asshole at age 30. This dude's been an asshole for a while now, and it starts at an early age. And so, I talked about how these behaviors can come about, why people act like this. Talked about the officers could have just initiated a lot sooner, could have ended up the same way. Never know, but I think they let it go on for a little too long, and people talk about de-escalation. So some people have this mindset that de-escalate means just not doing anything physical at all, trying to talk people down. There comes a point where that mindset of de-escalation actually escalate things when you don't do shit. So when you just sit there and you continue to allow someone to act a certain way, act defiant and stupid and disrespectful and what have you, and not follow your commands and get the hell out of there, if you continue just to let them do what they want to do under the pretense of de-escalation, you're actually escalating that situation because that person's becoming complacent with what's going on, and they are becoming emboldened in their mindset with, well, I can act the way I want, not a damn thing's going to happen to me. So there comes a point where de-escalation can cause things to escalate, and I think that has a little bit of a contributing factor in this case. I think they let things go on for a little bit too long. They should have just started taking action a lot sooner than what they did. And again, like I said, it may have ended in the same thing, but they should have just, like I said, went ahead and initiated it a lot sooner than what they did. Body cameras, magnetic mounts suck ass. Get rid of them. Alter your uniform shirts or your outer vest carrier to carry a camera instead of relying on those magnetic mounts. Tasers. So follow-up drive stuns. If you fire close proximity or only one probe hits, remember your training. You might not have trained on it very well, but ram the gun into another part of the person's body to try and complete the circuit. And if that doesn't work, if you got an X2 and you got that second shot, by all means, try a second shot, do another follow-up. If that second shot doesn't work, stop, keep pulling the trigger. Don't continue to pull it. Ditch it. Go to something else. If you're working on an old X26E or P model and you only got one pop, go with that one pop. Try to do the follow-up drive stun. If that doesn't work, ditch it. Go to something else, because continuously pulling that trigger on someone after already popping them and you're not having that desired effect, I guarantee you that 10th trigger pull on the taser is going to be no different than your third trigger pull on the taser. You're just not going to have any desired effect. Security. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Get in there and help out. I firmly believe that if those two guys had got involved, the two security guys had got involved and tried to help assist and get in control of this guy, the shooting never would have happened. It wouldn't have gotten to that point. Yeah, that's it. So that's all I can think of off the top of my head. I didn't have a list right here in front of me to go off of. Just kind of do these things on the fly. This has been another Monday quarterback video. If you like what you see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit the subscribe button and watch for more Monday quarterback videos coming out. Head on over to the Facebook page and do the same over there. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.